What's going on, everyone? This is Dom, and meet the OnePlus 5. Inside of the box, you're not going to find any surprises here. We do have a regular documentation, we have our USB Type-C cable for the bottom end of the phone, and we have our dash wall charger. Really no surprises on the unboxing front, but I'm sure you could have expected that by now. So I've been using the OnePlus 5 for a little while now, and there are a few main categories that I'd like to touch on, most of which you're probably interested in, but let's go ahead and get into specifications first here. Now inside the OnePlus 5, we have the Snapdragon 835 processor, and it starts out with 64 gigabytes of storage and 6 gigabytes of RAM, but this model right here actually has 128 gigabytes of storage with a whopping 8 gigabytes of RAM. Around the front here, we have a 5.5 inch AMOLED display with a 1080p resolution, and some people might be complaining that it's not QHD and stuff like that, but honestly, the display on this thing looks pretty fantastic. We also have the introduction of Bluetooth 5.0 here, which is supposed to support dual audio playback between two Bluetooth devices, but I haven't been able to get it to work 100% on my OnePlus 5, but maybe a software update will fix that in the future. So let's talk about the design here and address the big elephant in the room. So a lot of people saw early leaks and stuff of this phone, and it ended up being the real deal, and a lot of people are like, hey, yo, that looks like the iPhone 7 Plus. And I'm not gonna lie, it's got a very, very similar design, but it still does feel OnePlus at heart. We have a nice metal body here, and I'm overall a big fan of the design, and it's actually the thinnest OnePlus flagship that they've released yet at 7.25 millimeters thick. Though I do wish that around the front, we got rid of the capacitive navigation buttons at the bottom and just switched everything to on-screen, maybe slimmed down the bezels just a tiny bit. I wouldn't have been opposed to that, but unfortunately we didn't see that this year. Of course, we do still have the alert slider here around the side, which has always been a fan favorite to be able to switch between different alert modes in Android, but overall good stuff here with the design of the OnePlus 5. So let's talk about the camera performance, and yes, that little camera right there looks very, very familiar, right? Well, let's kind of forget about the similarities between this and the iPhone 7 Plus, and let's just talk about the quality for a second. This camera is actually pretty good, and we have a dual camera setup around the backside. We have a 16 megapixel Sony sensor with an aperture of f1.7, and we have a 20 megapixel telephoto lens on the back with an aperture of f2.6. Honestly, this is a great main camera here on the backside. It can definitely hang with the top dogs, but don't take my word for it. I've linked a full gallery below if you want to check that out for yourself, but I've been pretty impressed with the photo quality here off of the OnePlus 5. We are lacking optical image stabilization here, so that will affect you in low light and the overall sharpness of your photos if you're a little bit wobbly in the hands. Not a big deal to me, at least in my opinion. It's not really necessary to make this camera shine, but it would have been a nice addition. The OnePlus 5 also features a new portrait mode, taking advantage of the dual camera setup here on the back. And that's cool and all, but one gripe that I have is that it's completely unoriginal. Like, sure, you can have a portrait mode, but don't copy every little detail down to the software in the camera app that's used for the portrait mode. I mean, we even have a 2x button that just looks identical to what's happening on iOS, and I'm just not a big fan of that. Let's just come up with something a little more original. Regardless of all of that, this is still a great camera setup for the money. I'm a big fan of the photos this guy takes, and we even have a 16 megapixel sensor around the front side as well, so you can get your selfie on. As far as software and performance goes, this guy is buttery smooth. The fingerprint sensor on the front is super fast, and I'm a big fan of that. And this is Oxygen OS. I mean, it's more or less what we've seen on other releases. OnePlus does a very good job at keeping Android slimmed down, and this thing flies. And you know what? I'd sure hope so, given it has 8 gigabytes of RAM, but it is definitely one of the faster Android phones that I've seen come out this year. There's really nothing bad to say about the software experience on the OnePlus 5. It's top-notch all around, but now all of these factors kind of come funneling down one little tube when it comes to battery life. So is it good? In my experience, I've had some mixed usage with the OnePlus 5, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I've seen anywhere between 4 and 5 hours on a pretty regular basis of screen on time with this guy, but I've actually seen it shoot all the way up to 6 as well, which I've been pretty happy with. They say that the battery on the OnePlus 5 is 20% better than the OnePlus 3, and I guess I could probably see that. I mean, it's going to depend on which carrier you're on, how much you're using the phone, things like that. There's a lot of factors that go into play here, but we also do have dash charging as well, so you can top up pretty quickly when you're running low on juice. And you know what? This is going to be the phone to compete with in 2017 as far as what you're getting for the money. You really can't beat this guy, and it starts out at only $479 for the 64 gigabyte model that comes with 6 gigabytes RAM. You bump that up to $539 and you get 128 gigabytes with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and it's available in midnight black or the slate color option that they have. Sure, it doesn't come super spec'd out with an IP rating or things like wireless charging, but for the money, this is definitely a win. But I don't know, let me know what you think about the OnePlus 5 in the comments section below, and be sure to subscribe so you can be the first to catch other videos like this when they drop, and leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This is Dom, and I'll catch you in the next video.